All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Raider Nation. It's your boy Soto here with my live one-on-one. Yeah, man. I'm feeling good today. It's gonna be a good show today. Got a lot of good stuff to talk about. Some cool things. A little remembrance, all the good stuff. I want to make sure everybody, before we start, as we always do, I want to make sure that we like, comment, and subscribe. We can only do as well as you guys allow us to. So it's all about you guys. Everything that RJ and I do for this channel, everything that we do creating and all that good stuff, that's all for you guys. So we appreciate you. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your mamas, tell your haters, tell everybody. All right. Because we want to make sure that we're giving you guys what you're looking for. A lot of content creators out there, a lot of great Raider content creators out there. And we want to make sure that we're giving you guys what you're looking for. Went to a wedding yesterday. Homeboy of mine and his now wife, very good friends of mine, cool people, good people. They were engaged for a long ass time. They were engaged for like 6 years. So when they first got engaged, they had to push back their wedding because her father was really sick. He ended up passing, unfortunately. He was a really nice guy. Loved horse races, loved the races, loved the gambles. Really, real solid dude. And unfortunately, he passed away. So they had to kind of push back their wedding until I think it was like June-ish 2020. We all know what happened with our 2020. All of our plans got flushed down the toilet then. So they had to push it back again to this year, which they were finally able to get married. And thank goodness they did, because, man, it was a fun time. Got to hang out with a bunch of people. It's cool when you get to hang out with a lot of friends you haven't hung out with in a while, because it's like kind of like, remember those old school cartoon like Laugh Olympics where all your favorite cartoon characters were like in the same show. So I would hang out with these friends individually, just because we're all busy and you can't really get together. But we were all there at the same time, a lot of different groups of friends. So I actually was able to introduce my lady friend to a lot of people that she hasn't met yet, and of course they all loved her because she's awesome. And it was a good time, man. It was a good time. Weddings are fun. Weddings are cool, especially when you get free food and booze and cupcakes and all that good stuff. We might post some pictures later. We don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I want to start off with an unfortunate passing. I don't know if you guys have heard, but whoa, that's not right. Daryl LaMonica, a Raider legend quarterback, died on Thursday, and at 80 years old. What's the significance of Daryl LaMonica? Daryl LaMonica was the prototypical Al Davis quarterback. Tom Flores, not so much, even though he was a very good quarterback. He won AFL titles. He wasn't that big in stature. He didn't have that huge arm. He was more of a precision passer. Daryl LaMonica was not that. Daryl LaMonica, there's a reason why they called him the Mad Bomber. This dude liked to go vertical. Like Al Davis says, we will go vertical, right? And that was him. That's why they call him the Mad Bomber. His propensity to throw the ball deep in a league that wasn't really set up to be successful throwing the ball deep. At that time, corners can still maul your receivers. It was a very physical game. There wasn't that 10-yard rule where you could touch a guy. Like you can maul a guy all the way down the field. And Daryl LaMonica made his money throwing the ball deep. Number 3 for the Raiders. He's definitely a legend. 80 years, man. 80 good years. It's crazy when you see some people that pass around this time, and they lived 80 years. You look back at what's happened in those 80 years and how sports have changed, how times have changed, how life has changed. And he's seen some shit, man, for sure. He still holds the Raiders single season touchdown record with 34. Still, I think the last year he was a starter was the 72-73 season. If I'm not mistaken, I think 73 is when Stabler took over. But yeah, I think it was 72-73 was his last season playing. So that was quite a, 50 years ago almost. And he still holds the single season passing record, touchdown record for the Raiders. His overall record, look at this, guys. His overall record, 62, 16, and 6 ties in games started. That's the best winning percentage of any quarterback in the Super Bowl era with at least 75 starts. So he's definitely a freaking legend. He finished his Raider career 19,154 passing yards, 164 touchdowns in those 6 seasons. Rest in peace, Daryle Lamonica, the Mad Bomber. Definitely a Raider legend and someone that should be remembered, which is I think I might get a Lamonica jersey, number 3. Right, I have a Flores. I have a Matuzak. I might get me a Daryle Lamonica to commemorate for sure. Let's see what we got going here. Oh, what's up, everybody? I like the love, man. This is what I want. This is what I like. Bob from day one. This is like one of the first guys who consistently posted and interacted. One of the first. There's a few guys. But for sure, man, I love all the love when we start this stuff, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. Whether it's towards me or the nation, I love it, man. You guys are making this great. I love it. Oh yeah, you going to the draft? Nice, man. That'll be fun. That's a dope picture, by the way. Yeah, man. I really love. I love the way that that we can all come together when things happen to parts of our Raider family. So I'm hyped up for today's show. I'm hyped up to talk about a little bit of draft. I'm hyped to talk about a little bit of mentality of where we need to be mentally. I'm hyped up. I'm hyped to talk about a lot of what you guys want to talk about. Shoot me some questions. We'll get to all that stuff, man. So first thing I want to talk about is something that we talked about. I mean, RJ and I have talked about this, and it's a little bit more difficult to talk about draft with the Raiders because we don't have first 2 rounds of picks. And normally, I've said it before, I'll say it 1,000 times. There's the first 10-ish around there prospects in the league in the draft. Those guys are like the top 10 guys, right? Then 11 to like 50-ish. All depends what your flavor is, right? And then after that, it's kind of a crapshoot after that. But the first 50 or so prospects are going to be right around the first 50 taken. So it's kind of difficult. We don't select till 83. It's kind of difficult to say, oh, we're going to get this guy, we're going to get that guy, because you don't know who's going to be available. You don't know if there's going to be a run on offensive linemen early and we're going to be caught with our pants down because we don't, whatever. The thing I want to focus on right now is what is our strategy moving forward? And I'm very optimistic over the draft strategy moving forward because we've seen how Zeigler and Champ and McDaniel really do value, right? It's of great importance to them, not only what they're signing, but what they're signing them for. How does that impact the team now? How does that impact the team in the future? It's a much more focused approach than what we've seen in the past. Uh, but let's talk about that real quick because it's something that I want to get into. And even though I put Zeigler up here, you have to put Champ in there as well. There's multiple scouts. There's also JMDs whereas in there as well. Champ, guys, I want to let you guys know this. I can see Champ being a GM within the next couple of years. He's a really smart guy, real sharp guy, and I think he's gonna really find a position to shine, just like Zeigler did with the Patriots in a very short time. I think Champ's gonna do the same thing. So keep an eye on that kid, man. He's not a kid. I mean, he's a grown ass man. Probably beat the shit out of me, but yeah, man. One thing that I want to take a look at here, really quick. Marcus Johnson, friend of the program, Marcus Johnson, awesome dude. If you don't follow the Tape Don't Lie podcast, him and BD Williams, those guys are BD Williams is more the defensive guy, and Marcus Johnson is the offensive guy, and they break down tape. That's one of the reasons why, honestly, RJ and I really don't break down that much tape, is because BD and Marcus do such an excellent job of breaking down tape. It wouldn't be as good. So like, why do it? You know, if you guys want to see tape breakdown after you watch this video, go watch Tape Don't Lie. Those guys are top notch, man. Both of them, they're excellent. So Marcus wrote in his article about Zeigler and about Ziegler's draft strategy moving forward. So Zeigler is very focused on letting things play out in front of him, right? Not having a set, dead, hard line plan moving into a draft, having an outline, having possibilities, but being flexible. And that's what we need to do in draft scenarios, is be more flexible. I think we've been very rigid in the past and have said we want these specific players regardless of who else is available, because a lot of times there've been players who are much better players, maybe a different position, but much better players than what we have on our roster, and we still went with the players that we were set on. So Marcus Johnson wrote his article, and this is a quote of Zeigler. We want the best available players regardless of position. That's how we want to continue to build the team. I think if you're drafting good football players, you're making good choices. He continues to say, you can often pass over good football players that can help your team. And I think that can be a slippery slope if that's kind of the way you approach it. Exactly what I said. Even if you're going out there to draft strictly for need, right? You're going to pass up a lot of very good players. And those players that can help your team in different ways. Example, you're already set at defensive end or set at linebacker, let's say, but a really, really good linebacker for whatever reason falls in your lap, and you're like, wow, this guy is just as good or better than anyone we have on our team at linebacker. We should get him and figure out what to do with the other linebackers on our team. Either we can trade them, we can cut them, we can do something, but you're always looking to upgrade. There was a reason why the Ravens, for a lot of years, high in the draft, they always drafted like pass rushers. They always had pass rushers, but they always drafted more pass rushers. And you're thinking to yourself, why are these guys drafting all these pass rushers for? Well, sometimes they kick the guys inside. They have a good rotation. They keep the guys fresh. They're able to put pressure throughout the game, and it helps their defense. It doesn't make like if you're doing a fantasy draft type of thing, right? If you're building a team fantasy wise, it wouldn't be the way you would draft a team because you need to fill certain positions. But this is not fantasy. This is reality. People get hurt. People get injured. People have off years. You need to have that depth, and that's how you create depth on your team. If you need to go out and get a certain position, you can always find a serviceable backup, right? You don't want scrubs out there for sure, but you can find serviceable backups here and there. So let's take a look at some of the draft strategies of the past. This is why I RJ and I really kind of came down on the Gruden and Mayock regime. They didn't value, like I said before, they didn't value, um, and they got fixed on a specific player for specific reasons. Whether it be Gruden falling in love with the guy for a specific player for a specific set of plays, or this guy plays like X player, right? But then when you ask that player to do something different, that's not really what they can do. So instead of getting a better overall player, you got a player that does one or two things really well that fit a scheme, but the scheme isn't just that one or two things. Okay. So let's take a look. Okay, 2019. So all credit to Gruden and Mayock. They knew that the guy that they wanted was going to be available later in the draft. So what did they do? They tried to trade back out of the number 4 pick. The issue was they didn't get anything that they felt was proper compensation for that pick. So they ended up standing pat, and they picked up Clelin Ferrell. Now, admittedly, by the fact that they said that Clelin Ferrell was their guy and they were willing to trade back, they knew that they were overdrafting Clelin Ferrell. Backed up by the comments that Mayock said about draft strategy when in his interview with Rich Eisen about a month ago, when he said, and he was standing firm, I've told executives, I've told GMs, I've told player personnel people, if that's your guy, who cares if you overdraft for him? Look what happens. You end up getting a guy, even if, let's say, for example, you trade back to the number 12 pick in 2019 and you don't get proper compensation for that pick, you're still going to get your guy, number 1. No one was picking Clelin Ferrell in the top 11. You're going to get your guy at 12, let's say, for example, and you got more picks out of it. Who cares if that value isn't what you were looking for that pick? You're still going to get your guy, and you're still going to get more capital. That's valuing capital over what, looking bad? Look, how do you look now drafting this guy who hasn't played well? In the same draft, they were needy at safety. And I mean, there was reports that they tried to trade out of the first round because they kind of figured that Abram would be there in the early second round. There was no bites. There was no one there that anyone wanted. So they overdrafted Jonathan Abram. And not only did they overdraft Abram positionally, if you're going to take a safety in the first round, that guy's got to be a special safety. That guy's got to be like a top flight, top end safety to be taken in the first round. And Jonathan Abram wasn't that. He was a good prospect. He did a few things well, but as far as being that special eye-turning, defense-changing player, he was never that. He was never even seen as being. So positionally, that was a reach, and talent-wise, it was a reach. And we've seen what happened, with that pick. Let's see here. What do we got? JR. Oh yeah, you like that? You can see my ugly face better with the new webcam. I got a new webcam. You can tell it's a little wider. You can see more of my room. That's freaking really messy right now. More examples of this. In 2020, they tried to trade down again. They tried to trade out again in 2020. They didn't find the package they were looking for because I don't know why. This is where the ego comes into play. I can understand, for example, if you want to trade back and you're not certain if you're going to get your guy when you trade back, okay? That's a very real concern. If you have a guy you want to trade back but still be able to get your guy. Their guy was Arnett. Arnett was not the best prospect in the Ohio State secondary that year. And he had some character concerns, which the NFL knew about and the Raiders knew about. He had some injury concerns, and, he had some skill concerns. For whatever reason, Mayock fell in love with this kid, pounded the table for this guy. They didn't find the deal that they wanted, so they picked him anyway. Again, I don't know who was valuing and ranking these drafts in the draft room for the Raiders, but he was drafted like a whole round too early in a lot of people's eyes. Maybe not everyone's eyes, but most of the people. And again, you overdraft Arnett on both skill and character issues. And look what ended up happening, unfortunately. And again in 2021, Alex Leatherwood, where his versatility was valued over the position where he was being drafted for, or for which he was being drafted, I should say. You're drafting a right tackle, a starting right tackle in the first round. If you're drafting a player like Leatherwood for his versatility, you're saying to yourself already, you know what? If he doesn't work out at tackle, we'll just kick him in at guard. So it's like you're already kind of hedging your bet that he doesn't work out at tackle. Christian Darrisaw was there. He was by far a much higher rated player by anyone you ask. Anyone out there except for people with the Raiders. And Christian Darrisaw had a pretty damn good rookie year, and he played right tackle the entire year. And we talked about in the last show on Wednesday, Alex Leatherwood was the worst rated pass blocker and run blocker as far as win rate goes for right tackles. So now he's kicked into guard. Why did you need to draft a tackle? Because at that time of your draft, you had Denzel Good, Richie Incognito, and Jonathan Simpson, who were already guards on your team. You needed a tackle. Unfortunately, he didn't work out a tackle. So this is another example of why selecting and pushing too much for position over player really ends up hurting you. Because, Brandon Parker ended up starting most of the games, most of the snaps at right tackle anyway. He was already on your team. How does this change? How does this make it difficult for us? Well, Mick Zeigler and Champ, they're going to go after the best players available. Now, granted, the roster is a little bit deeper and a little bit stronger than it has been in recent years, which is a very good thing for us. We have a little bit more flexibility. So we can take the best player out there. If the best player is a wide receiver, take him. If the best player is a tight end, take him. If the best player is in the secondary, wherever he is, if the best player is there, you take the best player there. Now, you don't want to double up. You want Matt Millen a couple of years ago drafted 3 wide receivers in a row. That got him freaking canned from the Lions, right? But you don't want to reach for a person just because it's a position that you want. If he's in the realm, okay, sure, take a player that you can justify. Yeah, this guy's going to be good in this area, and he's fine to be drafted here. Just don't reach. I don't really see them reaching. I think they're going to be a lot more calm, a lot more collected. There's been a lot of questions here about what I think they're going to do. I don't know. Oh, yeah, here we go. Hit those like and support Soto, baby. Let's do it. Let's see here. Here's a question here. Derek Brienti writes, do you think Mick Zeigler should move up? I hope they just take the best available. Here's the deal. I don't mind them moving up if a supremely talented player who is like head-scratchingly, why is this guy still there? If he's still available like in the early 3rd round, I wouldn't really move up into the 2nd. That's going to be a little pricey. Moving up into the 3rd round is not going to be as bad. Moving up into the 1st round or 2nd round, that's going to be really pricey. 3rd round, it's doable without giving up too much capital, right? I don't mind doing that, but they have to get the player. They have to get an impact player at that point to move up. You're not that close to moving up into the 1st round or the 2nd round for that matter. That's going to take a lot of capital away. if a player drops into the third, okay, you can move up in the third and maybe use one of your second, fifth round picks to help you move up. But that's got to be an impact player that you see starting and making a huge impact on your team. You're not going to move up just to get a guy for depth. That doesn't make any sense. All right. If you're going to move up for a player, that's going to be a player that's going to start from you day one. Okay. So I don't really see them moving up. I agree with you, Derek. I really do see Mick Zeigler and Champ hanging back and letting things fall to them. Maybe even maybe even trading back a couple times. I expect them to be active. Maybe not in execution, but definitely active on the phones. They're going to be listening to a lot of guys. And being a first-time GM, right? I think people might want to test Mr. Dave Zeigler and see what he's got and call him, maybe throw some bullshit at him, see if he takes it. I don't know. We'll see. I don't see him being rattled. I don't see him being bullied. I think from what I've seen of him, what I've heard, he's a very measured, calm, and organized person, which is what you need as a GM. You need to be able to think through the fire. Let's see here. No reason for the first time in a long time not to reach on picks. Yeah, man. I hope they don't reach. I really hope they don't. I don't want them to. It's something where, again, with Jack Kennan writes again, it's a win now mode. We're in win now mode. It's just win, baby. We need to win. We're looking to win right now. We're not looking to build for the future. I mean, we're not going to sacrifice our future, but what we are going to do, what we are going to do is we're going to build the best team we can to play right now. That's what I think we're going to look for. That's why I've kind of stayed away from saying, oh, the Raiders should go after this guy. The Raiders should go after that guy. I've always been a proponent of the best player available. I know Rory and RJ shit on me for that last year. I'm like, dude, if the best player is a tight end and he drops to you, fucking, you got two good ones. If that tight end is better than your second string tight end, draft that dude and trade the third one. That's kind of my thinking about it. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of best player available. It's very hard to do, especially when you have glaring needs. Unfortunately for us, although we do have needs, we don't have like these huge glaring needs out there that we need to fill. There's some offensive line questions, but I don't see anyone there being completely inept at what they're doing or where they are. Yeah. Well, I agree with you, man. They don't need to reach. They have all the pieces. They have pieces in every position on this team. They just need depth. So, like Hobbs last year, you did need some secondary help. So you got Hobbs later in the 5th round. Hobbs ended up being your best performing corner. All respect to Hayward, but Hobbs was the highest rated. And he took a lot of those quick slot guys that a lot of the outside guys, honestly, look, for all we want to talk about, oh yeah, this guy only defends the slot, this guy only defends the outside or whatever. As hard as people think the outside is to defend, defending these quick slot receivers with their choice routes and shit like that, that's not easy either. And Hobbs did an excellent job. Guareb writes, if the Raiders don't fix the right tackle and another cornerback, linebacker, the Raiders will lose some games because of those positions. Believe it. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because we do have depth in those positions. Here's the deal. Look what happened last year. The thing was, people were crapping all over us for our offensive line moves. There's a big if, right? If our offensive line stayed healthy, I think we would have been fine off the offensive line. Denzel Good and Incognito didn't play a snap. If they had played, there would have been a huge upgrade to Simpson and Leatherwood. Leatherwood not cutting the mustard at tackle would have brought in either a Parker at tackle or a move of Good from guard to tackle. But it would have been a lot more stable line, a lot better offensive line. You can't account for injuries. All you can do to account for injuries is add depth. And how do you add depth? Best player available. And I hope that's what we do moving forward. Carr needs a top 5 O line. I don't believe that's necessarily true. He won 10 games last year with one of the worst lines in the league. I mean, how do you account for that? So honestly, it would be nice. I mean, look at what KC did. They put a lot of capital in their offensive line. They're one of the best in the league, and it worked out for you. So, does Mahomes need a top 5 offensive line to be successful? You can say the same thing for him. When he didn't have a top 5 offensive line against the Bucks, when he had injuries to his line like we had to our line last year, couldn't even freaking score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, I can see your point, but you have to take a look at what's actually happened as opposed to what you're projecting, right? All right. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, unless you guys have more, we'll jump back on the draft stuff. One thing that I wanted to discuss really quick, just something that I think is something that was brought up. I think it was Wednesday in the show, and I wanted to talk about it real quick because I think it's worth mentioning. The reason why I use the Patriots a lot as an example is because it's solely because Zeigler and McDaniel were most recently with the Patriots. I said it in the last show. The Patriot Way, it's just a bullshit tagline. That's all it is. Basically, the Patriot Way is just being a professional, right? Well before the Patriot Way, well before all that slogan, well before all that stuff was out there, there was a few slogans out there that were just as prominent, maybe even more so. And also, I mean, a little bit closer to what we want to talk about here, being Raider fans. And the main one that I wanted to talk about right now is this: commitment to excellence. I have used this a lot of times in the past when I'm talking about certain players on our team, certain coaches, certain schemes, why we didn't keep Bisaccia, why we didn't keep Mayock, why we didn't keep Bradley. They were improvements to our team that we've had previously, but they weren't as good as we could have had. And the results weren't as good as we could have had. And I don't think anyone can disagree with that. We had commitment to excellence well before there was a freaking Patriot Way. The Patriot Way is just a bunch of crap. There's people want to pile on the whole quote unquote Patriot Way thing because they're winning and because they're professional and because Belichick kind of projects his personality with his players quite a bit. Be very tight-lipped during press conferences. Just give them what they have to know. Be very direct. Don't run on with your answers, stuff like that, right? Don't really give up anything. You don't have to act like Belichick and the Patriots acted in press conferences to still take care of business on the field and during practice and in the offseason. You don't have to do that. So I used a couple of examples. The Showtime Lakers were a wild and crazy bunch, but Pat Riley has been known to have some of the toughest practices in the NBA. You can't tell me that teams like and I used the Detroit Bad Boy Pistons because they wore Raiders gear, right? They were the baddest dudes out there, man. They were wild and crazy on the court, but they were disciplined in their in what they wanted to do schematically. They played hard. You can't tell me they didn't practice hard. So you don't. And they were wild on the mic. Like they would call people out. They'd get into fights, but they was protecting each other. So you don't have to do things like the Patriots and call it the Patriot way. I think that's just it's just a bunch of bullshit. We had it first, and it's commitment to excellence, right? Commitment to excellence is what we need. And honestly, that's something that I want to make sure that whenever I talk about the Patriots, not because I'm freaking blowing them or anything like that, it's because I want that mentality that we lost for quite a few years to come back, because the name was there, the slogan was there, the motto, the mantra was there. We just have to live up to it, and that's commitment to excellence. Let's see here. Let's see what else we got. Gruden brought it all back. I'm not sure if Gruden did, man. Honestly, I think Gruden had a commitment to Gruden. What do you guys think about that? I think Gruden, and thanks again for the comment, Wowza. I don't know, man. I think that Gruden was more focused on himself and his ego and doing things his way and being successful his way. He was more intent on he was I think Gruden was would have been more content, maybe not being as successful as he could have been, but doing it his way, than being more successful and doing it someone else's way, or changing his mind or his methods. I think he wanted to do it his way. And you have to have that belief in yourself and that kind of that ego. But when that ego turns to arrogance and you don't take any type of you don't pivot and you're not able to adjust on the fly, that's when you run into issues. Let's see here. Derek, again, do you see any sophomore players improving with this new regime? Who are you looking forward to seeing next year? Well, Derek, thanks for the comment and thanks for the question. Well, I'm hoping that Alex Leatherwood improves greatly. I think that he has physical tools. I think that his technique needs a lot of work, and I think mentally he needs to calm down a lot more. I think maybe a lot of his penalties were due to being a little bit over anxious or just being I don't know, maybe he had some anxiety because he didn't think he was going to be chosen in the first round, and he was a first round draft pick, and now he felt all this pressure. Who knows? What we do know is this: if Alex Leatherwood is starting on game one, it's because he is the best player to play at that position. Bottom line, that's it. It's not because he was drafted anywhere. It's not because of his expectations. It's because right now he is the best player at that position. So Alex Leatherwood is one. I want to see a lot more of Divine Diablo. I think he can be a star linebacker. He played really well in that kind of vanilla Bradley scheme as a weak side backer. I think he can provide a lot more than that. I think he can be more of an edge rusher given his size and speed and his ability to kind of get around the corner on bigger tackles. I think if you try to put a tight end on him, I think he's quicker than you think, and will be able to move them. He showed some power in taking on run blocks as well. That's one thing that we don't really talk about Divine Diablo. He showed a lot of strength in taking on blocks, which is uncharacteristic of a smaller linebacker, but it shows you his toughness and his technique. So I'm looking into Divine Diablo really picking that big jump up. If Hobbs continues to improve, those are some of the sophomores that I'm looking for a lot more from this year coming up. Because the Graham system, Graham is like, his philosophy is very similar to McDaniels on the offensive, and his being Graham, excuse me. Patrick Graham's defense, he's going to put you in a position he's going to put you in a position to succeed. Graham is not going to put you defensively in a position to where you're going to do things that you're not well at, or you'll perform well at, or that you're not comfortable doing. He's going to make sure that you're going to be in positions to do things that you do well, to highlight you, not just for you and your abilities, but also for how it's going to help the team. Ryan Campbell, $2 super chat. Hey, no more soft focus Soto. Soft focus Soto. I don't get it. Well, I appreciate the super chat anyway. Jessica Cardena says, I'm curious to see what Gillespie. Yeah, Gillespie, he was hurt. He played some special team snaps. This kid was a stud, man. Gillespie was a stud at Missouri, which they play some big time games, man. They don't play a soft schedule at all. So him being a big time player in college, I see him being a breakout star. Jesse, that's a very good good pool. Gillespie is definitely a guy that we can see a lot more from, especially in a Graham defense. Graham does like to use multiple safeties. He does use 3 safety sets quite a bit. He uses one as a rusher or a box safety, and he has 2 that play deep. Gillespie can definitely be that guy. I can see him really moving up. I think, you know what, honestly, that's a really good pull right there, because when you're talking about improvement over last year, not playing hardly at all, I think it was like a handful of defensive snaps and maybe 15 to 20 special team snaps. I can definitely see Gillespie making a big push forward, because there was a lot of talk about him being a steal draft pick, more so than Hobbs, off of his production in college. That's a very good pull right there. Wowza says again, McDaniel said it was hard to evaluate last year's rookies because they didn't really play. A lot of rookies did play. I think it's hard to evaluate because they were playing especially the defensive ones, because they were playing such a vanilla defense. They really didn't show a lot of versatility. So that might be why a lot of the defensive players were a little bit hard to evaluate. As far as Leatherwood on offense, yeah, I mean, he was pretty easy to evaluate because just take a look at the tape, and it wasn't the best. Definitely wasn't the best, but we'll see going forward if we can make sure. I believe we did. I believe we gave up one of our late round picks and packaged our 4th to move up in the 4th, I believe. Gillespie's going to be a player, man. I really do believe so. I mean, even our good friend Hater Hefe KC knows about Gillespie, that he was a stud in college. He was a Missouri player, so he's definitely a guy that can do really well for us. Let's see here. What else we got? All right. I got a lot of backlash. I got a lot of crap. What was it? Starting 2 weeks ago when we did the reaction to Carr's contract. And I want to clarify a little bit. I think that when I say certain things, I think that you guys feel like I'm hating on someone, or that I'm shitting on them. Not the case. So let's talk about that right now. We being RJ and myself, we're discussing Carr's contract and how good of a contract it is for us. And we'll get more into how contracts work later. I think it's kind of more of an involved thing that RJ and I can both do together. The thing that I wanted to talk about was my comments about Derek Carr and no more excuses, and the reaction I got to it. First off, I want to say this. I'm a Raiders fan. Always been a Raider fan. Never rooted for any other team. What I don't do is I don't turn a blind eye to something that I know can be improved, especially when I care deeply about it. I'm going to be very critical of it, and I'm going to find ways to improve it. And that's where I think I get painted with the wrong brush. I get painted as a Carr hater because RG likes to, play that up. And I do give Carr a lot more responsibility as far as when we don't play well, when we don't score as many points, because he's got the ball in his hands. We heard after Gruden left and from Carr himself that he has the ability to change plays and to modify plays and so if he has that much power and control in an offense and he's the one in control, of course you're going to receive a lot more scrutiny, right? I think the issue is because I don't blindly follow a player and I don't blindly support a player, that I'm a hater, that I don't like him. It's not true. Even like Wobs says here, you are a Carr hater. LOL. I'm not a Carr hater. I was very excited for the Carr contract, if you guys didn't know it. So much so that Jack Kenna was like, dude, now after all this hate, now you love Carr? No, it's not about that. God damn it, Hefe. If you ever do have pictures of that, it's a Photoshop. Don't believe it. So that's the hate that I get a lot, is because I look at certain things that are acceptable and not acceptable. I don't want to get into a political rant. It's not about politics here. I'm just using it as an example, people, as an example. I do not subscribe to the notion of love it or leave it when it comes to this country. That is assuming that our country is perfect, which it is not. I do love this country. I do love being American, but the country is not perfect, and we can always improve on things. When you say to someone, love it or leave it, you're saying, well, if you don't like the way things are going right now, well, then get the fuck out. I don't necessarily subscribe to that because I feel like things can always be improved. When I talk about Derek Carr and his play, it's not because I'm a hater. It's not because I don't want him to do well. I want him to do well. But when I say no more excuses, what have I heard from people who are maybe a little bit more forgiving of Derek Carr and his play? He's never had a defense before. He's bad in the red zone because of Gruden and his play calling. He hasn't had any weapons on the outside. He hasn't had a number one receiver. So those things are being addressed. Not only is he getting better players and better talent on the defensive side, you're going to see what Patrick Graham puts together for us, and you're going to see a much improved Raiders defense. Not having a number one receiver. Not only do you have Adams as one of the best, the top 2 or 3 receivers in the league, you also have Waller, one of the top 2 or 3 tight ends in the league. You have Hunter Renfrow, which is one of the top 2 or 3 slot receivers in the league. We have a backup tight end in Foster Moreau that I'll put up against any backup tight end and starters, some starters in the league. He has weapons now, right? You have Josh McDaniels, who has always been a good red zone play caller. And, there is no more excuses in my eyes. What I'm hearing is a lot of both, a lot of, good and a lot of bad. So a couple things. Our good friend Bob wrote a comment. Now I'm going to show you some extremes here. Carr hasn't done anything different yet. I hope so. I so hope that I am wrong, but I just don't see Carr taking us all the way. I will love and cheer him if he does, but I haven't seen him do anything different yet. Please prove me wrong. This is kind of a commentary where we're putting it all on Carr and not looking at the peripheral factors, which I don't do. Charles Razzo writes, easy for me to say, the only 2 good quarterbacks the Raiders have ever had is Stabler and Plunkett. Those were quarterbacks that won Super Bowls for the Raiders. Nothing else matters. Well, you had Tom Flores. who won an AFL championships, and a Hall of Famer. The recently deceased and RIP, the Mad Bomber Daryl LaMonica. He was a very an excellent Raider player as well. Led him to the Super Bowl. We've had good players, good quarterbacks. Gannon, MVP, led us to a Super Bowl. So to be on that side, if you're not winning Super Bowls, you're not any good. I don't subscribe to that either. TD Sly says, I have been 100% behind Carr since 2014. I don't know how you can call yourself a Raider fan and not support the quarterback. Wanting, that's the other side. That's more of the apologist view. Supporting someone and excusing someone are two different things. I support Carr because he's our quarterback. I don't excuse some of the things that need to improve. And that's a big difference. Let's see here. Jesse again writes, the one thing that disappoints me about Derek Carr was he had the opportunity to run the offense the way he wanted to run, but he didn't step up. He didn't have the balls to argue with Olsen. I think that was more so against Gruden than Olsen. And that was all. And honestly, Jesse, that's what I was calling for last year before the season started. I'm like, I want Carr to show a little bit more fire when he knows things aren't going to work or something can work better. Because Gruden isn't always right. He wasn't always right. Let's see here. KJ writes, Carr is a great quarterback for us. If not, why is he on his second $100 million contract? No other quarterback playing for the same for same team. Facts. I think that Carr is on his second large contract, and you have to look at this contract. It's only 1 year guaranteed. I think he's on this contract because of the optimism that Josh McDaniels has for Derek Carr. I think there's certain credence lent to some of the excuses that have been given to Derek Carr as far as why his play has not and his record hasn't been as good as we would hope. And those things have been addressed. Defense is going to be better. Number one targets across the board. Better scheme, play calling, and game planning moving forward, especially in the red zone. So a lot of the things should take care of themselves. The thing that I got the most hate on, and we'll get to that in a second. Thank you for the comment, KJ. Safe Belayer says, explain how being a fan of the team means I'm not a fan of the quarterback. There has not been a year since 1974 that I didn't root for the Raiders. There have been many years I wasn't a fan of the quarterback, coach, and or GM. If support means I want them to do well, then yes, I agree. If support means the quarterback can do the job I think he can do, then no. I don't understand your point. I think it was a little bit convoluted there, but I get what he's trying to say. You don't have to be a fan of every single player on the team. You can feel like you can improve in certain positions and still be a fan of the team. Blind hate, like, oh, Carr is shit, he's terrible. Like, he's not. I rank him as an above average quarterback. And that has been with the limitations that he has had in coaching, in targets, in his defense. I mean, there's been a lot more pressure put on him than in other quarterbacks in other places. So hopefully things are going to turn around. I see that they will. What do you guys think about that? Let's see here. Derek again, Carr claims to have the Mamba mentality, but how many times have we seen him lose a game on the East Coast or fall apart when he gets behind in the game? Jets and Giants, for example. All right. Let's take a breather on that for a second, because I think that Derek Carr, given the right circumstances, he's never going to give up, number one. But I think he is a good clutch player, depending on the situation. If you need a field goal late in the game to win the game, I think Carr is as good, if not better, which proves by his stats, if not better than any quarterback in the league. He's gonna get you down there and he's gonna get that field goal for you if that's what you need. If you need a touchdown, he's a little bit more hit or miss. You take a look at Carr against the Ravens, got a touchdown. Carr against the Bengals, threw an interception. So those are just two examples. I know there's a lot wider scope, but take a look at those. I mean, take a look at those 24 or 30, whatever number you want to use, comeback wins that Carr has, and how many of those were won by field goal and how many of those were won by touchdown. Not crapping on the guy, you still won back, and ultimately you still won the game, and that's what we want. Just win, baby. Oh, here we go. We're getting a little bit heated here. Bernard Wallace. I don't give a shit who thinks I'm a Raider fan or not. My opinion is my opinion, and my team is the damn Raiders. Yeah. Tell him. If Carr plays well, I say so. But when he fumbles or lobs an easy pass, I criticize. Bernard, I cannot agree with you more. No one can tell me who I'm a fan of because I know who I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of the Raiders. But if I call someone out for doing some stupid shit or some dumb shit, it doesn't mean I hate the Raiders or I even hate that player, specifically. I'm going to call it like I see it. And I know a lot of people. I can separate this. I mean, because if you're my homie, right? If you're my friend, even if you're wrong, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong in front of other people, right? I'm going to let you do your thing, and then afterwards, I'm going to be like, "Yo, bro, this is, you were wrong about this, right?" I'm going to give him that blind support, but I'm going to also tell him when I think he fucked up or I think he was wrong. Same thing with the Raiders. I will support the Raiders to anybody. To anybody, I will support the Raiders. Like, I'm a Raider fan. I don't give a shit what you think about it. I will wear Raider gear to a freaking country club. Let them look at me sideways. I can care less, right? But in private, which I think this is between Raider fans, right? And Hefe KC. But with us Raider fans, if I see something that can be improved or that I think is not as good as it can be, I'm going to call it out. Doesn't mean I hate the Raiders or that player specifically. It's just something that we know can be improved. We could always look for improvement. Dick Vitale, that's like saying Stafford sucks. It's very true, man. I mean, Stafford was looked at as kind of like one of those middle of the road quarterbacks, like, above average, has good arm talent, just wasn't able to win. Let's see if it was all the situation. Let's see if it was all Detroit. He went to the Rams. He had a lot better supporting cast. But with that much better supporting cast, he still had to take it upon himself to win games with his arm against the Bucks, again, in the championship game, against, in the divisional game, against the Bengals in the Super Bowl. Everyone's showing that no-look pass, right? He had to make those plays in order to do that. You can't just be an everyday quarterback to be put in a good situation and make those plays. Hopefully things turn around for the Raiders and all these moves work and we become one of those upper echelon teams. And we can see when the time is there how Derek Carr performs. Right now, all we are is speculating because he hasn't been in that super high leverage situation. But now that we have the ability to be in that situation, we can say for sure he's able to make those plays on his own or not. Let's see here. Wowza, Carl leads the league in fourth rate comeback right now. I believe he does. That's more. I mean, honestly, that stat is more of a product of having a poor defense But like I could tell RJ all the time, depending on how you want to look at it, it could be a very good stat for Carr, a very bad stat for the Raiders defense, or just a stat that, I mean, take it how you want. Because if you're going back and forth because you're playing another team with a bad defense, basically whoever has the ball last wins. I'm not saying that's all of it because I do think that Carr is very good under pressure. But when you're doing a kind of a 2-minute offense against a prevent defense, Carr will carve you up all day. Let's see here. Not Mamba. Yeah. I don't think he's Mamba yet because Mamba won games like that. He was able to elevate a team of players who weren't as good in other places to be champions. Carr hasn't done that yet, but he can. We'll see if he can. Again, Jack Kenna writes, is that Carr or the defense? I think it's both, man. I think like especially when Carr is comfortable with the offense, like in spring and OTAs and mini camp and preseason, Carr's going to be a freaking beast. With vanilla defenses, 7-on-7 drills. This guy, the ball's never going to hit the ground, right? And that's similar to what you get when you're facing a prevent defense to end the game. Just inch your ball up the field, take what the defense gives you, get yourself in a position to score. Carr can do that, no problem. He's been put in that position very many times because of his defense, but he does have a very good skill set to be able to move the ball up. That's why I always say, look at the amount of times he got a field goal versus the amount of times he got touchdowns. When they needed touchdowns, how were they able to come back? May Spitfire, everyone's entitled to a dog shit opinion. May Spitfire, please elaborate. Whose opinion do you classify as dog shit? Because I would love to know. Ryan Campbell with the $5 super chat. Your face is on focus. You said you got a new camera at the top of the show. Congrats. OnlyFans next. Yes, OnlyFans is next. I will do some feet pictures coming up soon. Let's see here. Raider 7528. If this is probably Carr's so-called prove year, what are Josh and Zeigler exactly looking for? Let's say Carr has amazing stats but misses the playoffs, or makes the playoffs but bomb in game 1 of the postseason. That's an interesting question. I think that McDaniels and Zeigler are more adept to scouting than to look at a specific thing as far as, can this player be a player for us moving forward? Let's say, for example, Carr plays extremely well and we get first round in the playoffs again. If he plays well, if he gets system down and he wasn't the reason why we lost, and he put us in the games, and he fights like the way he normally does, and he's the leader on the team, I see them sticking with Carr. I don't see them moving on from Carr until at the earliest, barring injury, God forbid, at the earliest after next season, after the 2023 year. I see the 2022 year being his year to kind of prove it. If he doesn't do as well as maybe Mick Zeigler had hoped, and they go run him out another year, and then that year again isn't what they've hoped, I think then after that second year, they'll move on for sure. Jesse, you're right. It's like having that one family member that always fucking up and gets into trouble, but you always love him because he's your blood. Raiders all day. Fire, 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 fire. Raiders flag, Raiders flag, Raiders flag, Raiders flag. Yeah, man, it's true. I believe it. Let's see here. How many coaches have we had since 2010? A grip. No, I agree with you. Dick, that's what I said earlier today. Dick Vitale, thanks for the comment. That's what I said earlier today, man. a lot of the question marks and a lot of the issues that Carr has run into in his career, they've been helped a lot. They've been improved quite a bit. His defense is going to be quite a bit better this next year. He has a number one target, not only in the number one target of wide receivers, but he has a number one target in tight ends as well, and a number one slot target too. On top of that, he has good players in the backfield. He has a coach that understands schemes and game planning and understands situations, understands how to get people open in the red zone. That's why I say no more excuses. I'm not saying no more excuses because I want Carr gone. Not at all. I'm saying no more excuses because it is time now. Now it's time. If not now, when? It's like if you and your chick want to have a kid, there's no perfect time to have a fucking baby, man. Just fucking, if you're looking for it, if you want it, do it. There's no perfect time. There's no perfect time to have Korean barbecue. If you want Korean barbecue, go get some fucking Korean barbecue, God damn it. There's no perfect time to be a winner. Did anyone think that the Bengals were ready to win last year? No, and they freaking made it to the Super Bowl. You don't wait for your time. Take it. I'm not waiting on anybody. I want to take it. If it's there to be had, I'm going to take it. Let's see here. Let's see. You are right, Juan. Well, I agree. It's time. We need to get it done now. We have commitment to excellence all up and down on our shield. Just win, baby. It's time to do it. So, you guys have anything for me? Because I think we're a little bit past the hour, and I want to see what we got. What do we got, guys? Any questions? Let's see here. Oh, Guareb writes, Carr has only had one season where he went over 30 touchdowns, even with Cooper and Crabtree. He just not a quarterback that puts up TDs in the red zone, no matter what the scheme is. Here's what I say to that. And I'm not saying I disagree with you. What I'm saying is this. RJ likes to say, or he said a few times that, oh, well, we can't rely on our draft and value these picks the way we do over players because we've done such a poor job at drafting. And I say Al Davis, Reggie McKenzie, Gruden, Mayock, whatever mixture you want to say did it. They're not here anymore. Those people are gone. When you take a look at the Raider franchise as we know it in the Super Bowl era, those are the three regimes that we're looking at that pick players. Al Davis, Reggie McKenzie, and that mixture of Gruden, right? Gruden and Mayock. Those are the three regimes now. None of those people are in the building. None of those people have any influence over what we're doing right now. So you can't say the Raiders don't draft well, that's why we should do X, Y, and Z, because none of those people, none of those regimes are drafting now. We have a new regime, so we have to look at it in a new light. This is how that applies to Derek Carr. Derek Carr was much better in the red zone early in his career. Was it because he had the weapons? Was it because he just didn't know any better and was just slinging it? Or was it because of the scheme? I don't know. But what I do know is this. Josh McDaniel is a much better schematic offensive coach in the red zone. He's going to find ways to make your players open. On top of that, add one of the most prolific red zone touchdown receiving wide receiver in the league. He is on our team. Now, part of that was the excellence of Aaron Rodgers, and part of that was the level of comfort, the comfort level that Rodgers and Adams had. If Derek Carr and Devontae Adams can get any semblance of that, you're going to see a huge uptick in our red zone touchdowns. Not only because of things going to Devontae, but of the defense focusing on that side and someone else being open on the other side. That's the one thing we haven't talked about in quite a bit is Devontae Adams on this team is not only going to affect the offense because of the connection that Devontae Adams and Derek Carr have, but of the influence and the pressure that a Devontae Adams on your team will put on the opposing defenses. Because of that, I feel that we're going to be a lot better overall, or have the opportunity, we still have to execute, the opportunity to be a lot better overall offensively and also in the red zone. All right, guys, I think we're winding down here. Yeah, Carlos, you're right, man. Carr and Adams numbers about to skyrocket. I hope so, man. It's all set up for them. All right, guys. Let's see over here. I think Bernard's co-signing with me. No matter what happened in the past, I believe McDaniels and Carr is a good fit. Get rid of the ball quickly. That's his MO. That's the MO of both guys. And Carr is smart and heady enough to be able to get the ball out quickly. I love it. Yeah. What was that old line? What do you think about your offensive execution? The John McKay, the coach, said, "I'm for it." Or was it Rich McKay? I'm not sure who it was. It was the coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks. Here's the thing, guys. All these improvements, not only coaching, leadership, executive-wise, talent-wise, schematically, game planning, all these improvements only matter if you go out and execute. And that's what we need to do. First and foremost, we need to have that commitment to excellence, to get better every single day in practice, to get better every day you open up your playbook, to get better every day you go in meetings, to get better every day on the field. When you have the commitment to that, that's when good things happen. All right, guys, I appreciate you guys. Make sure, as always, to like, comment, and subscribe. We want to make sure that we give you the content that you need. Let us know what you're looking for, man. The draft is coming up next on Thursday. I more than likely will do a live for the draft, in part or in full. Who knows, depending on how drunk I get. But we don't have a first round pick. We don't have a second round pick. But if you guys comment on the comments section, not just in the live chat, but in the comment section, comment what you guys think about me jumping on and doing a live for the NFL draft. I'm thinking about it. I may do it. I may not. I'm not sure yet. It's a big commitment. It's a long ass fucking draft, but I kind of want to hear what you guys have to say. All right. So, guys, as always, big love for me, man. I appreciate every single one of you guys and the way you make these lives work. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your mamas, tell your haters, tell everybody about the Autumn Windbags and other content creators. Until Wednesday, this is Juan Soto from the Autumn Windbags telling you, like I say every single time, go Raiders.